If you are anything like me and just thinking, I have some questions about this fly fishing thing, then you got a home here. Welcome to the Go Show, celebrating all things outdoors, the beautiful outdoor playground of a state, nation, and world that we live in. Been doing this since 2013, and there were two things that I said that I wouldn't be doing. One of those is stand-up paddleboarding, and the other is fly fishing. And if y'all been following the show, you know I'm a big fan of stand-up paddleboard now because I tried it. So I bring in Chris Rich, the man, the proprietor of the AZ Fly Shop. You can check him out at azflyshop.com. Cactus in the 51, all social media. You got to check him out. It is quite literally the world's friendliest fly shop, and it's led by one of the friendliest guys you're ever going to meet, and that is Chris Rich. So, Chris, if you could for me, help me out as someone that, and I know you're not the type of guy that will say, oh, you got to try this and kind of lure, so to speak, somebody into fly fishing, but you'll help me out with some questions, will you not?
Let's do it.
All right. I have for years, since I was a little kid, I've basically just spinning rod and a lure forever, ever. I'm a casting master. I think like a fish. I understand bass fishing, I understand bluegill, I understand crappie. I understand I can outfish anybody in catfishing, but fly fishing, I would always look to these guys and think, okay, hey, that's way too hard. There's way too much going on. And I don't think that just doesn't look fun. Can you explain from your point of view what the fun of all of this stuff with the line coming this way and at your feet and all this and that going back 15 feet and coming down that way? Help me out.
Gosh, I got to tell you what, it's one of those things. I think that, like, I would never try to, like you said, I'm not going to try to convince that you need to come fly fishing, because there's a commitment, right? There's a cost of entry into the world of fly fishing, right? And it's not the fly rod and it's not the equipment. Okay. That you've got, but you're going to have that really anywhere. But what you are going to have is you're going to have, for example, something I say all the time, one of the costs of admission is tangled line. You are going to have it's going to get, oh my gosh, that's part of the cost of admission. You're going to have to deal with that. And it's just part of the experience, right? There's nothing actually to get frustrated about. It's tangled line. It's supposed to happen, right? You're brand new. That's what you're going to have to deal with it. If you can't deal with it, then that's okay. Come back when you think you want to. It's just a different way to approach the fish. I will say it's a much more active way to approach the fish, right? There's a lot more involved in getting that line set, learning how to deal with all this line, learning how to get that fly line out and present it to the fish and make it, move and act and catch that fish, ultimately get him to eat that, right? So there's a little more involved than just going and saying, hey, let's get a Zebco 33 and we're getting the tug, right? Which I think that's great as well. I'd say this. I would say one of the reasons we have terrorists in the world is because they don't fish. If they could feel the tug, if they could feel the tug on I don't care, a spinning rod, a fly rod, they'd put their gun down, they'd go fishing.
That's right. Yeah, guys, you go deal with your wars. I'm going to go fish.
Yeah, that's what would happen. I'm convinced that, boom, the terrorists will go, let's go fishing. It's that much fun. And there's a lot of things about it, the excitement of, every cast has a hope, right? You got a hope that you might get something. But fly fishing is certainly, if you think about it in the trout world, which I know a lot of people, when they think fly fishing, they think river runs through it, Montana, Wyoming, they think trout fishing. Now we chase anything that's in the water. We ultimately do. But let's just say trout fishing. Okay. What you're trying to do most of the time when you're fly fishing is you're imitating a little tiny insect, which is actually a large part of that trout's diet, right? Something that might be just teeny tiny, you can barely even see it. Think, are they actually eating it? Yeah, that's what they're eating, right? So fly fishing really offers you the opportunity to have the immersion into the natural process of what's happening there, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can get as deep into that as you want to kind of dive in to try to understand, how am I going to imitate what those fish are eating, those little tiny insects, and where are they at in the water? And a lot of people, you could say get nerded out. A lot of people really jump into it and go into that way and get nerded out with all that science. I'll be quite frank with you. I'm not one of those guys.
Hmm.
I love to fly fish, and I love to tie flies, and as an activity, and I love the people that do it as well. But you asked me like insect names and how many legs, and this I don't even know, and I really don't even care. I mean, at one time I thought, well, I got to learn all that, but I have come to realize, I mean, especially around Arizona, I've been doing it so long that I know if I go to Horseshoe Cienega Lake this time of year, I go over here, I fish this deep with these 2 flies, I'm going to catch fish.
Okay, right.
I just want to feel the tug, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't know what to do in that water, I'm going to find somebody that does know and say, hey, how do I do it? So I don't really get into what's the insect life and what's all the critical little pieces, the scientific. There's a lot of guys that love to do that. And I think it's great, but fly fishing allows the space for enter it and play with it however you really want to.
Okay, you're talking my language now. And Chris Rich of AZ Fly Shop is answering some questions because my questions, I think, have been limiting my excitement or desire to try fly fishing because I do. Inside my soul, I know I do. But it's these questions that I have that are stopping that. And that's the easy way out of most things, right? Like, oh, yeah, I just have some questions that can't be answered. The first one was, and I'm not kidding, do I have to fish for trout? Because I hate trout. I do not like trout. I don't like the way they act. I don't like the way, especially the stock trout. If you look at them wrong, they die. So catch and release isn't a thing. And then I don't like cooking them and I don't like eating them. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. And that was one of my biggest excuses of not trying fly fishing. So you told me I can fish for any damn thing I want to fish for. If I want to, bass, smallmouth, whatever I want, striped bass, whatever I want to, I can do that on a fly. I did not know this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
I'll tell you this. We do a lot of trips out of the shop, international trips to the jungles of Brazil, the jungles of Argentina, Patagonia, Cuba, Chile, Magdalena, all over the world, right? We do these crazy trips. And I will say that there's a percentage on some of the trips, it's as high as 50% people that have never fly fished in their life. And then we get people a lot of times that come in the shops, oh, I'm not good enough yet to go do this.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Okay. I've got a lot of friends, from my previous life in business. One of my other hobbies is team roping, rodeo event. Like you can see a picture behind me there, probably on the wall.
That was my third guess.
Yeah,
team roping. So I had you in finance, fly fishing, and team roping. Of course, was going to fall right into line there.
Come on, baby, it's obvious. So a lot of those friends, like they just say, "Oh my gosh, I want to go experience the Amazon jungle, and we're going to go experience it through fly fishing." They've never even touched a fly rod in their life. Guess what? It's not that difficult. They go down there, they catch tons of fish, they have a great time.
Really? They're catching fish. Haven't touched before going to the damn Amazon and catching fish.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, they've never touched a fly rod in their life.
What?
Yeah. Now, now listen. You know what? Listen. I don't really look at it and say I'm a better fly fisherman than that person. It doesn't really exist. It's an art, and everybody's just where they're at, and it's okay, right? But it's not like, oh, I'm better. I mean, certainly we have that thought. Some of us do, but it's not primarily how fly fishing, the world exists. It's like this world of competition and I'm catching more or better. But it's just really the experience of the whole thing. And so even these people come down, they get to experience the Amazon in a very unique way through fly fishing. Yeah. They get to experience Cuba through fly fishing. Anyhow. So yeah, you go ahead. You had something else.
No, I'm lost in pretty much what you're saying here. I think this is fantastic because again, it just comes down to the excuse. Now, I don't know if I'm ready to roll out to Argentina or to Cuba to start fly fishing. I would like to start here, though. I definitely would like to start here. So again, going back to those that have never touched a fly rod, those that are literally think that the only thing you fish with are those little teeny tiny guys that you talked about. Mm-hmm. And that we think that fly fishermen on their way down to the spot are looking at bugs around the leaves and doing this and that, and then sitting down and tying one of those bugs on their way down. And obviously we're learning that is not the case. The second thing that really is a hang up for me, almost quite literally, would be getting my line hung up in every single thing around me talk to me about and give me a 1 to 10 as far as difficulty is concerned on learning how to just, basic level. I need to get that thing 20 yards away from me, but I kind of want to be around that rock. Like, how hard is it to learn how to cast these dang things? Because it looks impossible. It's beautiful.
Well, it's obviously not impossible, and there's a little bit of a learning curve to casting. There's no question about it. Now, I started as a 7-year-old, okay, and we camped a lot and fished a lot. We were always around water, and I started with a Zebco 33 as a little tiny 3-4-year-old kid. I remember being on Christopher Creek doing that, and then I want to fly fish, and so I really, back then I had to teach myself. And I used the Dewey Decimal System and going to the library and checking out books and magazines and figuring out how to do this. And I figured out, how do I get that thing out there? Get it out there 20, 30 feet. Oh, I'm okay. Oh, I got to fish. That's what I wanted to do. And that's all I cared about. And you know what? Quite frankly, if you can just flop it out there, you're fishing. Okay. Now, is it as pretty or is it accurate or precise as what I'm going to do? Probably not. But quite frankly, for 35 years, I was taught by a 7-year-old how to fly fish.
Okay. That makes sense. So because you started when you were young. So let's actually talk about this. So if and Chris, I hope I didn't lose you there. You kind of froze up. There you are. But let's talk about this. So if I'm out there, this is me. I'm just talking about me and me alone. And I obviously am not a shy person. Right. I've been in media for 15 years. I'm not a shy person. If I see other anglers out there throwing those big, just beautiful, it's just, there's music behind them, and it's just, again, the lights hitting them perfectly, and it's just wonderful as they're casting. I don't want to cast anywhere near them. But you're telling me that the community is, oh, look at that guy. Okay, he's over there slapping the line on the water. Let's go talk to him and see if we can help him out. Right?
That's a lot of times that will happen. Here's the thing is, let's take the Salt River, for example. Okay. It's right on the edge of Phoenix. It's a wonderful fishery. It's about 11 and a half miles, full of fish, full of many different species of fish. And it's just fantastic. There's bald eagles, there's the mountain goats. You can see them up on the cliffs. There's wild horses, mountain lions, sometimes bobcats, coyotes. It's just amazing to go out there, and lots of different fish in the river, lots and lots of fish. And they're very healthy. There's a lot of food in that water, and those fish are very, very healthy. And when we're out there, I'm typically not going to go over and talk to the guys that are sitting there with bobbers and bait fishing.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed to saying hi and visiting with them. But if I see somebody with a long rod, a fly rod, chances are, we're going to get drawn together. And then we start, visiting. Oh, hey, where are you from? How long you been fishing? How are things going? Man, I'm really struggling. Hey, you know what? Come over here. Let me show you what works. Let me show you how deep you want to go. Let me help you a little bit right here. And that's most of the time, that's what you're going to find happens with people in fly rods.
Okay.
Is they're going to say, how do we want to meet up. We've got a common interest, obviously. And then how do we help each other?
See, me, if I was over there just throwing a lure, just keep throwing a lure, just cast and retrieve, I'd look over somebody doing the whole whippy thing going, he ain't catching fish. He ain't catch fish like me. Well, I do this little flip. I got this little flip. Oh, man, I'm deadly. Yeah, I would be thinking that. But again, so that has led to my apprehension to giving this a try. But what you're saying, this is Chris Rich from AZ Fly Shop. Please get over azflyshop.com. Check these guys out. Friendliest fly fishing. Actually, I'd probably say you're probably the friendliest fishing spot to go to and just check out and just sit and chat around.
I'll tell you what, Phoenix Fishing Supply is pretty doggone friendly.
I was going to say that too. As I was saying that, as I was coming out of my mouth, I'm like, wait, hold on a second.
I'm not going to take
it. We have Phoenix.
I'm not taking that one from Gowdy. I'm giving that one to Gowdy.
No, beautiful people. And that's the wonderful. And it's so cool that we have those type of places here in Phoenix, as opposed to if I show up in Montana and Wyoming, go to any fishing shop, I'm going to be, the noses will be in the air. And it's in my opinion, it's just something I'll pass. But now if you want to try any kind of fishing in the world, Phoenix, of course, is the place to start. AZ Fly Shop, if you want to get to the specific, you want to try the flies. Now, the third hang up I had was, again, because I thought you had to find a nice flowing river, and it had to be maybe the Salt, or it had to be, it was very limited. You're telling me, at least you told me yesterday, I can fish in lakes, I can fish in puddles if I'd like to. But you said you had a carp fishing derby because we're really go with competition in the fly world. The Derby, and you're fishing canals.
So we have something.
Where do I find that that's legal?
So well, first of all, what we have in Phoenix is, if you think about this, right, we have 180 miles of canal that run right through town. I don't think there's anywhere in the world that has that other than Phoenix. Okay. Now, there's canals in other places. I get that. But 180 miles of canals running through the middle of the desert, they're loaded with fish. They're loaded with fish. So they've got bass, bluegill. We catch stripers out of there. We catch catfish out of there. There's so much fishing going on the canals that Game and Fish will go and patrol and check licenses. I've had my licenses checked on the canal.
I didn't even know it was legal, is really what I'm getting. I didn't even know you could do that.
So there's a couple of canal systems that run through Phoenix, primarily SRP, Salt River Project. Okay, those are the big, that's the majority of the canals. On the east side of town, there's a canal system called the Roosevelt Water Conservation District. It's well marked with a sign that you are not allowed to fish it. Okay, and they patrol it, and they will call the police, and they'll give you a ticket for trespassing. So do not go there. It's not, you don't be there. On the west side of town, in the Buckeye Water District, they also have a small canal system, not allowed to fish it. Okay? It's just, and it really is from a safety standpoint and insurance. And so on the SRP canals, I mean, a lot of people recreate. They're riding their bikes, they're jogging, they're walking their dogs, and people are fishing. So one of the things that Salt River Project did is they brought in these white ammers, these grass carp, and they put them in the canals. They're sterile. They put them in with a partnership with Game and Fish. The fish get enormous, okay? And so there's places I can take you in the canal, and I can show you, and there are literally thousands of these grass carp. Wow. And I will tell you, the smallest one is 30 pounds. We've caught them over 50. And they're not easy to catch, right? You see them in the water, and you think, oh, this is going to be, no. They are a very, very smart fish. They're very, very wily, and they're very, very spooky. And so it really is a challenging operation, even, for the most experienced fly fishermen. And the other interesting thing, we had this carp rally last weekend. We had people come in from a couple of different states. And I have people coming in the shop, talking to me all the time. And one of the things I'm starting to hear very, very regularly is, oh my gosh, I was in upstate New York, and I was fly fishing. I had a guide. I told him I was from Phoenix. And after I told them that, the only thing they could talk about is the carp fishing. They want to come do the carp fishing in Phoenix. Like literally these fly fishing guides all around the country, they know what we're doing. They're seeing the fish that we're catching. Wow. And people are starting to come here literally just to chase these carp with a fly rod, because there's nowhere else in the world that you can do it.
I'm blown away. I didn't think you could do it here, because I will admit I've been asked to leave a couple of times, and a couple of times when I love fishing. So I go by, like I say, a solid rain. I go by a puddle. I think, can I fish that? It's a sickness I think we all have. But I see people in the canals. I see them, fishing with a spinning rod, whatever it is. I haven't seen the flies yet, the fly anglers out there. But if I see somebody fishing the canals, I'm like, that guy's about to get busted. I didn't think you could. Again, I've done this since 2013. I did not know you could be out there fly fishing in a canal. I had no idea.
It's you know what? It is I've had I take, of course, I love to get people and take them out and expose them. So if I'm going fishing, kind of my thing is, if you're around and you want to join, let's go. So when I show up to a waterway, there's oftentimes I got 4, 6, 7 people with me, and I'm going to fish. But they're going to learn, and they're going to also fish. And I'm going to say, hey, Mike, no, do a little more like this. Hey, let me show you this, right? And that's just kind of, I love to get people on the water and fish. So I've taught a lot of people to get out there and fish these carp. And it really, once they get out and they experience it, like you get a 30-pound carp on the end of your fly rod. I know. That's, you're talking a 30 to 60 minute fight to get that fish in.
Okay. I love the segue that you just had there, because again, this is Chris Rich, azflyshop.com. Check them out. The coolest group of people, the coolest community that I learned. I finally got to jump in with the film festival this weekend and see and meet a lot of this community. Just wonderful, wonderful, beautiful people. But when you talked about the actual, let's see, the actual barriers to me trying this. One of those barriers were when you said you need to know how far down or how deep something goes. Again, you think fly fishing, it's just setting this little thing that weighs nothing on the top of the water and waiting for something to happen and then redoing the flippy thing and then wait, you want to try that again. You're actually going sub level.
Yeah. So if a trout's diet, I would 90% of their diet is in the bottom 1/3 of the water column.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. So they're eating primarily. They're going to eat the bugs that are in the water. Okay, so the bug life cycle is that little tiny mayfly bug or the mosquito. They fly around in their little groups, and there's the males and the female, and they have a very short life cycle. They fly around. They mix up with the male, the female. They land on the water. They lay their eggs. They drop these microscopic eggs into the water, and they find their way down slowly to the bottom. And now there's nutrients, and they sit there and incubate, and they might sit there for years, right? And then conditions are just right from a barometric pressure, the sunlight, the temperature, all this happens, timing, boom. These little tiny, like millions of these little tiny micro insect, just out of their egg, they start to hatch. And they bounce around the bottom of that column of water, whatever that waterway is, whether it's a river or a lake. And so those fish, sometimes there's a cloud in the bottom couple feet of a lake when these bugs begin to kind of hatch. And so the fish they're easy prey. The fish can just swim right through and just have their mouth open, and they're just eating, right? And we actually have I have a little pump for trout. I can pump their stomach. It's a little squeeze thing, like a little turkey baster, right? But it's a small one. And I can go on, put the water in, and I can pull insects out of their stomach, and I can actually look if I want to and see, like, what are they actually eating?
Really?
Right. So what's in this waterway? And so what we do is we will fish, some flies will have a little tiny weight on them, maybe a little bead that'll take that fly down and imitate, where those insects are at, and those fish seem to be keyed in and feeding on them.
Okay. And this is something, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So the dry fly, right, is the fly on top of the water. That's maybe less than 10% of a trout's diet. And so you'll see certain times, like in Arizona, for example, typically in the evening, like the last 20 minutes before it gets dark, if you're up on one of the trout lakes up on the Rim Country or the White Mountains, almost every one of those lakes in the very last 30 minutes of daylight, the fish are rising and they're eating everywhere. You see little rings on the lake. And what's going on? Well, those fish are eating now. What they're keyed in on is there's so many bugs hatching at that time of day, and they're eating them just subsurface. Just as those bugs are working their way up, they're getting their wings kicked out, they're getting their little legs kicked out as they work their way to the top of the water to shed that shuck and fly off and repeat the process. And so a lot of times in the evening, the fish will come up and eat those. Now, if you think about this, in the evening, the sunlight starts to go down. Trout don't like the sunlight. It hurts their eyes, so they like to get down, get out of the sunlight, right? The other thing you'll see a lot of times is if the cloud cover comes over, they'll come up and they'll start eating because the light's not bothering them, and they're not as worried about the birds grabbing them and stuff like that. So
okay, I got you. The last thing you said was the worried about the birds coming to get them, and then you froze up a little bit there, so we lost the last thing you said.
Yeah, so you'd have like a dry fly maybe on top, and then another fly that you could tie a second one, because you're allowed to fish two at the same time in Arizona. And you might have another one that's going to drop down, right?
On the same line?
On the same line. They call it a hopper dropper.
Okay.
Like a grasshopper and a dropper. Hopper dropper.
You got me now. Okay, so you got me in. I think you got, again, it wasn't your goal to. And that's why you go to AC Fly Shop. You can go and ask questions. Whether you want to be sold on it or not, just go ask questions like I'm doing now. So the last thing, again, my big barrier, is this whole noise. Reeling in a fish doing this, to me, just seems so just counter. My instinct, because I was taught how to fish too by a 7-year-old. So I'm saying me, I taught myself going to the little community ponds in Long Beach, California. So I was the only one out there fishing. But this whole thing, instead of this, are you setting a hook on this thing? Are you doing it with your hands? So basically, it's old man in the sea. You're hand lining every time.
There is a lot of hand lining, a lot of what they would call stripping the fish in. That does happen a lot.
Okay.
And there are other times where the fish they're going to take line. And so you got to let all that line go. And then it gets to the reel. And now I'm on the reel. And now I do get to fight them on the reel. I've got a drag system and I'm in a dance with that fish, right? They take off. I let them take the drag. Okay. They're giving up. Okay. I can bring it in. I can etch it in. But fighting a fish and learning to bring it in, it's another very challenging part of fly fishing. I mean, so you got to learn how to cast, learn how to set up your rod. Let me get my rod. Let me get my equipment. Okay, there's a barrier. Now I got to learn how to cast, get my fly out there. Another barrier, something we've got to get through to get there. Okay. And so when you put all this effort in, right, to learn these things, there's a little bit different reward. That reward feels slightly different. I'm just going to say that it does, rather than, okay, I got bobber, throw it out. Boom, I got another fish, right? And then, so you got to learn to get it out there. And then you got to learn to let that fly imitate and be natural, look natural on the water. The fish eats it. Now I learned the next part, which is how do I fight that fish and get him in? Because oftentimes we're fishing with very light line, 2, 3, 4 pound line. And so if you can't, dance with that fish, they're gonna break it, right? It's not typically something that we're like fishing heavier line where we can just muscle the fish and just rake them, bring them right in.
It's your drag is your finger essentially.
No, you got a drag system. The reel, the drag. A lot of the reels are going to have a drag system on it that you can adjust. Yeah, you can adjust.
But when you're stripping a fish in, basically your drag is your fingers, right?
Yeah, your drag is your finger. You let it slide through your hand. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Chris Rich, AZ Fly Shop. Man, I appreciate you answering the questions because, again, I'm not like that. I'm not, for years, I haven't been like that guy. If you say you haven't seen a movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you haven't seen that movie. You got to go see it right now. I'm not that guy because I was like, oh, it's entertaining. You should try it. You should, and this is the same way with you in fly fishing. And I know that's the same attitude at AZ Fly Shop. Is just, if you have questions, come on. Yeah, we're not gonna get you to go. Now you got to go buy this. Now you got to go do this. We're not trying to upsell you. We're answering questions, and you did so much so is that when you do return from your trip, you're gonna be gone for a month. When you do return from your trip, I am stopping by the shop, and I am going to keep asking questions. And then hopefully we land into a spot that we could talk about going and actually throwing a line in the water. How about that?
I love it. I love it.
Right,
you know what?
man.
I will tell you what, all winter long, 2 or 3 days a week, I'm at the Salt River.
Okay.
It's a great location. You and me during the winter, boom. And that's the beauty of Arizona. The rest of the country is under snow and ice, and we're out there in 75, 80 degree weather, hooking up on nice, solid fish. It's like it's an epic time.
It's a deal. All right. So Chris Rich, AZ Fly Shop, give him 51 in Cactus, correct?
Yep, northwest corner.
All right, and azflyshop.com. Check them out. And again, I'm going to say it. I know it's you said it's not you, and I understand that. I appreciate you being the conduit for the fly fishing community to come together and really take one for wildlife for tomorrow. And the fantastic proceeds from that amazing event was around $18,000, and we can't thank you enough. We just really appreciate you being a leader in conservation, your shop being a leader in conservation and outdoor excellence. So thank you, Chris Rich. Appreciate you.
You got it. Thank you, Mike.
All right, everybody, you have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday I'm telling you, there's a lot of outdoor Prime deals. It's Prime Day. Get ready, y'all. It's going to make it happen right here on The Go Show. Celebrating all things outdoors in this beautiful outdoor playground of a state, nation, and world that we